Let's read the question together. A displacement reaction is observed when chlorine water is mixed with a solution of potassium iodide. So what information has the examiners given us? They've told us that this is a displacement reaction. Remember, a displacement reaction is when a more reactive element takes the place of a less reactive element in its compound. And this particular reaction is happening between chlorine water, which is a reactant, and it's mixed with a solution of potassium iodide. Potassium iodide is the other reactant. So this is a displacement reaction where the more reactive chlorine takes the place of the less reactive iodine in the compound that contains iodine, potassium iodide. Let's look at the question now that we've been asked to answer. Part A. Balance the symbol equation for this reaction. Let's box the command word. We've been asked to balance it. What does that mean? We need to add some numbers on these lines to ensure that the same number of atoms and type of atoms are in the reactants as in the products. So let's consider this symbol equation in a bit more detail. Here we have a molecule of chlorine. That means we have 2 atoms of chlorine in a diatomic molecule. But in the products, the chlorine has become part of the compound, potassium chloride. Here, there is only 1 chlorine atom. You cannot make or destroy atoms in a chemical reaction, you can only rearrange them. So if I've started with 2 chlorine atoms, I have to end with 2 chlorine atoms. So I must put a 2, this is known as a stoichiometric coefficient, a number 2 in front of this formula to ensure I've got 2 lots of potassium chloride. This means I've now got 2 potassium atoms and 2 chlorine atoms on the product side. Let's turn our attention now to the potassium. Now I've got 2 potassium atoms here on the products, but if I go back to my reactants, I actually only have 1 potassium atom because I've got 1 formula of Ki. So this time I need to put a 2 here to mean I've got 2 lots of potassium iodide. So now let's have a look if the equation is balanced. We've got 2 chlorine atoms and here we've got 2 chlorine atoms. So that's balanced. Here we've got 2 potassium atoms. Here I've got 2 potassium atoms. Here I've got 2 iodine atoms and here I've got 2 atoms of iodine in a molecule. So this equation is now balanced. Let's look at part B. Define the term displacement reaction in terms of halogens. So let's box the command word define. That means state simply the meaning of the key word. And what is the key word? In this case, it's a phrase. It's displacement reaction. But it actually gives us a bit more information. It wants us in terms of halogens. So, the full definition of a displacement reaction is when a more reactive element takes the place of a less reactive element in its compound, but we need to do it in terms of halogens. So we write a more reactive halogen takes the place of a less reactive halogen in its compound. And that is the full answer.